The wisdom of the older women. Why is that important? Well, wisdom in the Bible is depicted as female. And now that I'm over 50, I know the wisdom that I've collected in my life. And I know other women have collected that wisdom as well. And mine comes from wisdom in general. Definition is knowledge with experience. So my personal wisdom comes from my knowledge, which is, you know, I'm not a world traveler. I haven't jet set and been to Russia and China and everything, but I've been a wife, married to a military man through a 20-year career, and then the pastor's wife for the time after that. So I've had my experiences, and it comes with, you know, the knowledge comes with those experiences, and that's where my particular woman wisdom comes from. Also, we are the kind of people, Pastor and I, who see ourselves as living an independent life, meaning we were part of a huge structure, and yet that structure was not the totality of our life. We didn't live on base, we didn't get into all the Army stuff, and it is a system and people do it and there's nothing wrong with it, but we chose knowing that eventually we would be out on our own, and so we were working on our personal skills. And so you've heard, Pastor was a Boy Scout leader, I was a Girl Scout leader, we were on a fire department, I was an EMT, I've done a lot of things, substitute teacher, and that's also where some of my wisdom comes from. And that's where other wise women get their knowledge as well. And we have a lot to teach, and that's one of the reasons I started my channel. Concept, one wisdom that occurred to me is camo. I don't know if Pastor Joe's talked about it on Viking Preparedness, but he certainly talked about the gray man concept. Camo came about when we were at one of those survivalist campouts that he used to take us to. You know, I'm a young married woman with small children, and in preparation to go to these campouts, you know, we'd have to get our food together and our tents and our sleeping bags and our pillows and, you know, medicine for the kids in case anybody got a cold or whatever. And he would make us wear camouflage clothing, and we actually like went and bought kids camouflage for our children and had name tags on them in their, you know, camp names. And I just thought it was kind of going too far, because in my mind, I'm not a soldier. I'm a housewife. So why do I have to dress like a soldier? And to the survivalists, I'm not sure why they liked everyone dressing camo. I don't know if it was they liked the military aspect or if they thought it would make us all blend into the woods, which it would. I mean, because these campouts were in the woods. But when I went into town to do things like, you know, get milk or something, I stood out like a sore thumb, and I had a lot of attention on me. And I thought, I'm not really blending here. And if we wanted to, you know, have a survival scenario, shit hits the fan, whatever, and we're trying not to be conspicuous, then I am utterly failing. And it was then that I thought, well, there's other ways to dress to be in the outdoors that isn't military camouflage. And of course, I thought of hunters. Hunters don't always wear that, or just outdoors people in general are wearing things like the plaid wool, Pendleton wool shirts, and some kind of heavy-duty outdoorsy pants, usually in an olive drab or a brown or a tan. And so I talked to my husband about it. I said, look, we need to be more gray man about this. And I want to tie that in with the Total Resistance book by Von Dock. If you haven't read that, you really need to read that. And I'll talk about resisting the power in this video as well. But in that book, his contention, his idea, one of the ideas put forth is that in a resistance scenario, everyone is resisting whatever power it is that's trying to take over. In his particular case, it was Nazi Germany. But there's been, you know, eons and eons and eons, Romans taking over, you know, English settlements, etc., where resistance plays scenario. And so, given that, and you want to be part of the resistance who's resisting a greater power, if all of you are resisting, then who are they going to come looking for when something doesn't work right? Like when the post office suddenly, you know, shuts down because the water is leaking all over the floor, somebody put a hole in the pipe. Who are they coming to get in situations like that? They're going to get the people who stand out. Well, you know, does this person do anything unusual? Do you see them leaving their house late at night and coming in early in the morning? Or, you know, the questioning right there. And then, well, if you're the only one wearing military camouflage in an entire town of civilians, guess who they're going to think did it, right? So that's when the camo idea came about. And we started to look more into not, even if you're being a little bit separate from whatever power you're resisting, not being that guy. So, Total Resistance is an excellent book talking about how to resist a power that takes over your whole society. But it doesn't have to be in a military context. And I'll give you an example that's happened in our life recently. We do have health insurance, and we've had it for 30 years, and we know the ins and outs of how it works. And Pastor had a procedure done, and we were sent a bill by the hospital for $2,100. Now, with our particular insurance, we should not be getting that bill. So, part of being resisting the power is understanding, is being intelligent and understanding the system that you're living in, so that you can, when it's turning tyrannical or it's mistaken or whatever, you can identify that and then take your steps. So if I were not as knowledgeable as I am about our insurance, I would have paid that $2,100. And it's coming at a time when taxes need paying too, and it would have really, you know, where do you come up with that out of thin air? But because I knew how our insurance worked, I thought, nah, there's something going on here. This is not right. And so I didn't pay it. And I tried calling our insurance, and they were in a transition period, so it was really hard to get hold of them. So another month went by. We got another bill from the hospital. And so because I know the entirety of that system and how it works, I went another route. I called a different person who's a patient advocate. And she said, oh, no, yeah, I'll resubmit that for you. So she resubmitted it, and in the meantime, we got another bill from the hospital. And so I called back our main insurance company, and I said, hey, what's going on here? And now you got it, 6 weeks has gone by, so it's not like this is happening one day after another. 6 weeks has gone by, and I call our insurance, and their transition is finally over. I'm able to get a hold of a lady. Here's what I have to say. She says, oh yeah, she checks my records, and we're not supposed to pay that bill. That's supposed to be paid by the insurance company. And so she says, no, we'll take care of it. That we sent a check out to them on the 22nd of the month. You should not be hearing from them anymore. And I thought, okay, great. And then this month they sent us a check for $25. So not only were they in the wrong, but they were in the wrong to the point where they owed us money. And that's just one example of resisting the power. People getting a hospital bill, you know, someone like me getting this hospital bill, if I had paid that $2,100, yeah, eventually the hospital would have paid me back, but there might have had to been more paperwork and more phone calls, and I would have had to have waited until it went through their system. And so instead, I just didn't pay what I knew to be a wrong bill, and eventually it worked its way out. And that is a way of resisting the power without it having to be any kind of confrontational thing. No military involved, no law enforcement. Another resist the power is what's going on with Facebook nowadays. They have way overstepped their right, and I really hope someone brings a civil suit against them for breaching your right to privacy. But they've almost become like the societal police. They just stopped the account of another black celebrity person. I think his name is Steve Terrence or Will Ferrell. Not Will Ferrell, but something like that. Will Terrence, maybe? He is a black comedian, and he's conservative. and Facebook said, nope, we don't like your page, we're shutting it down. They shut down the page of Diamond and Silk, who were conservative commentators and comedians. Since when does Facebook get to decide, you know, who gets to speak out in a social environment and who doesn't? And yes, it's a private company, but they're supposed to be a company that is supposed, you know, they state that they're supposed to be this, you know, even platform for everybody to voice their ideas, and yet they're, not only are they stealing your information and selling it, but they're censoring, which is stamping on the First Amendment rights of some of those people. It really is, because of what they say. And same thing with me, because of what I represent, a faith-based woman, they shut our pages down, and that's wrong. So resist that power. One, I did a video on quitting Facebook, but I'm not the only one. There's tons of them, and tons of people. 1 in 10 Americans is quitting Facebook, and that is resisting the power in another way. So there are also contextual ideas of wise women. There are wise women in the Bible who, the one particular situation I'm thinking of is a siege situation, and this might be in the Apocrypha. And a wise woman makes a deal between the warring leaders and saves her city. Mother Jones, I think her name was Mother Jones, was some sort of lead the women out of slavery people, and so was Harriet Tubman. I also saw just recently, it was a lady, and she saved, I read a story about a lady who saved her husband. It was a Jewish lady, and they were on the train to Auschwitz. And when the Nazis came to her house to round her family up, her husband was at the hospital, and she told the Nazis he had died. And he lived, he escaped. And then when she and her son and daughter were on a train to Auschwitz, she pushed her son off that train, and he survived. That's, you know, wise women knowledge right there. She knew something was wrong, she knew something was bad, and she did her utmost to save someone she cared about. I'm not saying every woman has this. I'm saying every woman has the potential to have this. And when you know a woman like that, or if you need advice, go there and get her wisdom. Whether you take her advice or not, it will definitely expand what you know and how your decisions. Another female wisdom is keeping your home. And I know a sister who spends almost nothing on clothing. She buys clothes when Walmart has their end of season sale for $1 a piece, and then she alters them to fit her family. She buys dresses for women, cuts it off at the waist, and makes the bottom half a skirt for her daughter. She cuts the legs off of pants and adds length or makes them shorter to fit her husband and her sons. She's just really smart and thrifty. And so that's another example of just wisdom. When I'm passing on my knowledge to you, I'm giving you the benefit of my 50+ years of experience. I'm interested in emotion, I'm interested in relevancy, I'm interested in patterns. And I've studied all of these things. I've studied how humans behave, cause and effect, and also results. You know, if I try canning something this way, what are the results? If I try building something this way, what are the results? And I try to pass on all of that to you to give you a little boost and to save you time and effort. I have been on YouTube now for approximately 6 years, and I have over 600 videos. So just with regular number counting, that means about 3 videos, no, not 3 videos, a video every 3 days. I think the very first video I put up was my daughter-in-law milking a goat, and the point of that video was to show someone who didn't have a lot of experience how milking a goat worked. And every video I've made since then has had a purpose to pass on experience and knowledge. And sometimes there are videos in there that are for a break, for comedy. I've got some that are just done for fun. And I also have some that are for you to withdraw, for you to relax, to get a break from your everyday grind and just enjoy the peace and solitude, the quiet, the shalom of Shofar Mountain. And what Pastor and I have worked so hard during our 20 years in the military and the 13 years after that to achieve. When we picked Shofar Mountain, we wanted that kind of peace, and we're being able to live that every day, and I'm trying to share that with you and to show you that that is out here waiting for you when you come out of the world, when you come out of the crowded cities and really shoot for a life spent depending on Yahweh and walking with Yahweh.